Paula, you're unemployed. What are you going to do with yourself?
I know. You know, my pat answer is whatever the heck that I feel like doing. After 40 years of being on a tight schedule and trying to keep organized and meet flight schedules and meetings, not to say it's not going to be an adjustment. It will be an adjustment, but it will be pretty nice just being on your own schedule and doing exactly what I want to do on any particular day. So, yeah, some travel for fun, fun travel, and I'm still somewhat will be associated with the industry, the aviation industry a bit. I'm on an aeronautical commissioner for the local municipal airport in my community. And of course, I live 10 to 15 minutes from AEA headquarters in a suburb of Kansas City. So
you can't
I'll
escape that easily?
Cannot escape that easily. I'll keep in touch with the staff, of course. They've obviously become friends over the years. So I'm going to keep busy, but just
friends by now, don't you think?
Oh yes, absolutely.
That's the thing I noticed amongst everybody. It's just been a really familial attitude amongst the whole crew.
It is, yeah, and really not just within the staff itself, but within the community, the avionics community. You see competitors having lunch together, or in each other's booths, you know, catching up, and I think that's the secret sauce of the association over the years, is that everyone, for the most part, has a mutual respect for one another and have become friends over the years.
It cracks me up, and what's funny is that half of these people have worked for the other half at one time or another as well.
Right, absolutely.
It's a very commingled,
Yes.
or inbred organization, as the case may be.
Right, there could be some truth to that as well.
Oh, it's funny to watch just... You run into somebody, okay.
Yeah, the new logo on my corporate
bring
shirt.
Me up to date, quick.
Exactly. I think I'm probably one of the very rare ones that have spent 40 years at the same organization.
Interesting.
40 years.
I didn't even think about that.
Yes.
It's been, Aero-News is just at 23 years old. We've been coming to the AEA conventions for about as long. We've been doing the live streaming for 11 years, about half that time. We have watched your organization grow, meet some really interesting challenges at various times. But we've always been somewhat amazed that what is technically a pretty small organization covered so much, did so much, and cut such a swath through all of aviation as did AEA. Pretty extraordinary. And I realize Monty set quite a mission for you. Talk about the shoes to fill.
Yes.
And let's face it, just more than anything else, just following him was a trip and a half, because let's face it, he was a trip and a half.
He was.
But what is it that made AEA work?
Well, I owe a lot of my success to my father, Monty Mitchell. While he was not the founder of the association, that was Chuck Peacock and a handful of avionics shop owners back in 1957 who decided we need a more powerful voice in our support with the manufacturers. And that's how the AEA was formed. It was, for the first couple of years, it was truly just an association of avionics repair stations trying to unite together to open up better communications and lines of support with the manufacturers whose products they were selling. And their mission was accomplished, and then over the years it kept growing. But from 57 until 77, so for 20 years, it was a volunteer-led organization. Member companies throughout the United States would volunteer to host the conventions and the meetings. And it grew to the point where they said, hey, we need a paid staff. And that's where my father, who had been in the aviation industry for many years at that point, always in sales and marketing, they tapped him and hired him as the first executive director. And I was in college at the time, trying to earn a degree in public relations and journalism. And when I graduated college, I went right to work for him, running Avionics News, our monthly publication. And we grew the association together. The staff started growing over the years. So my dad had this work ethic that, unless you're on your deathbed, you go to work and you give 100%. And I've taken that to heart over the years.
This is amazing
And
how those things get passed down.
isn't it? Yes. You don't realize as you're growing up and as a child, the influence your parents, both good and bad in some cases, but it good for me and my sisters that our parents had that type of work ethic that you give 100% and you do your best each and every day. And so that's what I've tried to instill in my career. And we have a fantastic staff. You mentioned we're small. I always like to say we're lean, but we're mean in a good way. And
especially a Jeff Hill guy. Here's the mean guy.
Yes,
yep.
absolutely. Jeff Hill's the mean one.
Yep.
Everyone else is the nice one. No,
occasionally
great
Lauren.
guy.
Lauren just
Yes.
I can see she was your enforcer.
Yes. And it's kind of nostalgic that as I announced my retirement and leaving, now Lauren has decided to pursue her passion and her dreams outside of the AEA, which I wish her all the best. I think it takes a lot of courage to decide I need to wake up and do what truly makes me happy. And so that's what she's going to do as well. And she's a talented artist. She's going to pursue her work in art. Yes. Well, she drew the terrific image of Bob Hoover.
The association and the foundation is using that aggressively. We'll be using it quite a bit in the future. We're
That's
excited
wonderful.
about it. Or, as a matter of fact, the postage stamp project that we're undertaking, she's going to be one of the artists we're inviting to do some of the concept art on that.
Oh, that's great.
And
so
she'll
still be tied into aviation as well. Yes.
No, she'll never leave it totally behind. But
right. It's in her genes, here kind of
yes,
in her genes.
There you go.
But no, between my sister and myself and then the talented AEA staff that we have, I like to say we have a secret sauce that we have people that attend for the first time will come to the conventions and say, how is it that everybody seems like family here, or competitors are nice to one another? And I just think that's the kind of atmosphere and culture that we've tried to grow in the association. So, yep.
This transition that has just taken place, at the time at which you knew that Mike Adamson was getting the nod, was there any specific bit of advice, or was this just kind of an osmotic process of showing him what he needed to know if he didn't know it already? Because let's face it, he's not like he's been there for just a few days.
Right.
But what advice was it that you gave or are giving to him as he goes forward? It's got to be a little daunting.
It's daunting for him, and you talked about filling Monty's shoes. Mike has said to me on occasion, you've got big shoes to fill. It's going to be hard to fill your shoes. And I said, it's funny, Mike.
And he doesn't look good in heels.
No, and he doesn't look that great in heels. But I said it's funny because people would tell me that when I became president, when I was hired by the board of directors to carry on after my father announced his retirement, I said, I felt like I had big shoes to fill as well, but I took that as a challenge. And you should take that as the same way. Take it as your own personal challenge that you're not only going to fill my shoes, you're going to go above and beyond filling my shoes. I have every confidence in him leading the association from here out. And yes, he's been with us 20 years. So hopefully, I think it's going to be a very smooth transition. I don't think members will really notice a huge difference in the services and the benefits and the products that we bring to them each and every day. And the industry could not ask for a more capable person to take over the reins of the association.
Well, when we heard originally what the choice was, we just, duh.
Yeah, right,
made perfect
right.
sense.
Yeah, and it seemed like, that's just such a natural, but he worked his hiney off to get to this point and worked to win the job.
If you had the opportunity to specify what it was that you thought was yours or AEA's best moments throughout the last few decades, what would they be?
Wow. Well, probably the one that is most memorable for me is when my father and a lot of the other trade association alphabet groups in the aviation industry worked so hard up on Capitol Hill to get the 18-year statute of repose legislation passed. And my father was one of those invited to the White House when President Bill Clinton signed into law the 18-year statute of repose, helping ease the threat of lawsuits against airframe manufacturers. And if you'll recall, that really helped kickstart again the assembly lines of airframe manufacturing and gave the industry a much needed boost at the time to get back going and building our industry back. So that is probably a very significant milestone that I will never forget. The excitement of we worked so hard to get to that point, and then the final glorified moment of Monty being in the White House along with other trade associations, watching the president sign that into law was amazing. I also think probably when, under my watch, when we moved from a corporate office building, doing our business from that office into building our own large state-of-the-art world-class facility headquarters with a training classroom that is devoted to training.
It's a great facility.
Right, not just current avionics technicians, but we train a lot of future aviation technicians as well in that training classroom. So that was a milestone that I'm very proud of, that we were able to build the association to the point where we could build this type of a training facility and large headquarters facility, where we not only offer our own training, but we do a lot of industry events there as well, whether it be FAA forums, industry forums, regulatory forums. Manufacturers will use the facility for their own training needs, and that was a very growth point in my career as well, is moving into those facilities.
Paula, let's take a short break for a moment.
All right.
Lauren prepared a farewell video that I thought was extremely well done. It was
surprise to
and
me.
A lot of fun as well, featuring a whole number of interesting personnel from throughout the years.
Yes.
So we're going to take a break and look at that for a few moments. Nathan, take that away, and we'll come back with you here in just a few moments after we watch this particular video. And this was Lauren Garcia's project.
Yes.
Paula Derks began working full-time for the Aircraft Electronics Association in June 1979, fresh out of college and ready to take on the world. She started her AEA career as managing editor of the association's monthly magazine, Avionics News. Currently, in its 56th year of publication, Avionics News grew in size and stature along Paula's leadership. A few years later, Paula was promoted to Director of Communications, a role that allowed her more travel opportunities to meet members at various industry events and AEA meetings. Working alongside her father, Monty Mitchell, the 1980s and 1990s were exciting times for the AEA. The association was growing at a rapid pace, expanding into countries outside of North America, and the membership roster was steadily increasing. Paula had been with the organization for more than 16 years, and she was ready to take the next step in her career. Fast forward 23 years later, and the AEA has flourished under Paula's steady leadership as President and Chief Executive Officer. With nearly 1,300 member companies in more than 40 countries around the world, the AEA has added new benefits and services, opened a full-time office in Washington, D.C., hired regulatory consultants in Europe, Canada, and the South Pacific, and built a state-of-the-art headquarters office with a training facility in a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri. And today, the AEA is leading the way when it comes to training the next generation of avionics technicians. As Paula begins a new life after retirement, the AEA is eternally grateful for her leadership during more than 40 years of service to the organization.
Okay, Paula, it's my job to talk you out of retiring.
Paula who?
Hi, Paula.
Hi, Paula. Paula, it's great to hear that you're retiring and going to places that are a lot of fun. I wanted to take a moment just to tell you how much we appreciate all the work you've done with us.
Paula, on behalf of all of us in the General Aviation Manufacturers Association, I would just want to thank you for the tremendous partnership that you have shown to our community and what we've been able to do with avionics and making aircraft safer.
We're going to miss you like crazy, right?
We're going to miss you a lot.
Yeah.
And, remembering way back, Paul and I were both on the selection committee.
Mm-hmm. I think we
Was
were.
I on those?
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Paula, so many years, so many challenges, so much we've been through together.
We can tell you for certain, without hesitation, that you did not disappoint.
You have done a great job running the organization. And you know that there are a lot of people that have opinions on that, and they're all unanimous.
I am very happy that she's retiring and able to spend time with her husband and her family and her grandchildren and travel, but I will feel the loss of her leadership, as I will be one of the few female Aviation Trade Association leaders left.
Paula, congratulations on 40 years at AEA and 20 plus years running it. We in the industry really appreciate everything you've done and wish you the very best in your retirement and hope we continue to see you around.
I am going to particularly miss my routine reports on how the Royals are doing or how the Kansas City Chiefs are doing. And our friendship has really blossomed over the years, and I so much enjoy working with you and look forward to you staying engaged with the community in many years ahead. Good luck to you, Paula.
Congratulations. We're jealous. We miss you already. It's a month ahead of retirement, but thank you for everything you've done.
You bet. Love you, Paula.
You have a special place in your heart for all of us here at Aspen Avionics. I just want to congratulate you on your retirement. We look forward to at least staying in touch with you, and whenever you're in Albuquerque or Phoenix, you make sure you call us and we will come see you. Good luck.
Congratulations, Paula, for withstanding 20 years of aviation safety. You've made it a better place.
We want to see you around frequently, so be sure to come back and visit with us. And if you don't, I'm going to get my dad, and we're going to drive over and get you and bring you out to visit and go to the show. So best wishes, and keep in touch, and thank you so much for everything that you've done.
The challenges we faced on Capitol Hill, the way you have always stood up, spoken out, stood tall, has been really an inspiration to all of us. I want to thank and congratulate you for the contributions you've made to business aviation and to general aviation in the United States and really throughout the world. I also want to remind you of the time when you and I got donuts together in Oshkosh. What a special day, what a special career you've had. Thank you, Paula.
On behalf of the entire Aircraft Electronics Association Board of Directors, staff, membership, and general aviation industry, Paula Derks, we thank you.
All righty, folks, we're back. I hope you enjoyed that. Once again, that was the brainchild of Lauren Garcia, one of our favorite people in all the world. You knew her formerly as Lauren McFarland. She got married last year and broke a lot of hearts.
Yes,
Seriously,
she did.
Big time. There were tears. It was just bad news. At any rate, let's follow up. You have passed the reins.
Yes.
Okay, all that's done. Retirement is in the offing. You've got a granddaughter to go spoil to at least 6 decimal places.
Yes.
What role do you see for yourself, though, in aviation from here on out?
Well, wow. It's a good question, but I think maybe a little premature for me to even answer because I don't know. I've always said to my family, especially my husband, I want to take the first 6 months and not make any specific plans. I just, if that means deciding if I want a hazelnut coffee or a French roast coffee on Monday morning after I retire, that may be my biggest decision that day. I'm obviously not going to sit in a rocking chair and truly retire. I'll keep busy and maybe do a little consulting. I'm on some various boards, as I said, so that'll keep me busy. But right now, my cheeks are hurting from smiling so much over this new granddaughter. That's like icing on the cake when you announce you're going to retire, is to find out after the announcement that my daughter's expecting our first grandchild, and now that she's here, it's this overwhelming joy in our lives. So we'll see what the future brings. But for the first few months, I really want to relax and just focus on what I'm going to do when I graduate.
You've had the opportunity to be on the inside of a number of pivotal discussions and processes in this industry. At the same time, we are now looking at a regulatory environment that could be heading for serious trouble. the Boeing MAX 8 controversy, which in many ways is being driven by media speculation to 10 decimal places and not necessarily accurately, at least from what I'm seeing so far. It's been pretty abysmal, but there's this push for criminalization, high-level investigation for processes that in the past, by and large, have worked pretty darn well.
Right.
What concerns you about the regulatory environment for the future, and how do we bring some sensibility back to the system so that we don't literally throw the baby out with the bathwater?
Absolutely, Jim, and I think sensibility is probably a very good word to describe this. I think the aviation media is getting it right, and I think they're being cautious. I think it's the general media that is rushing to make these assumptions when the NTSB has not fully, it's going to take months, as it does with any aircraft investigation.
Not to mention the fact that we've got international borders
I was just
and politics.
And the international regulators and safety boards all working together with Boeing and the two different airlines to come to terms with what exactly caused this crash. So for us to even speculate and determine, is it truly, at the end of the day, will it be a certification issue? I think it's too premature for any of us to make that assumption or even make that statement. With that said, I also agree with you, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater until we truly find out what the issue is, either with the plane or what happened in both of those individual crashes. We have worked so hard as an industry, I started to say over the last 5 to 6 years with the Part 23 rewrite, but really it's been years and years. Industry has worked together with the regulators, the FAA, our international regulatory authorities, to streamline certification, not to hurry through a process and quickly sign off a product or an installation, but to enhance and increase safety. So that's the story that needs to be told, is this new way of introducing certification procedures is not to rush through a practice that has been going on for years. It's to enhance and improve safety and bring these safety enhancing products to market sooner.
Especially considering the fact we've never been as innovative, we've never been as capable, and we've never pushed boundaries as well as we have. And ultimately, when you look at what has happened out there, it's never been safer.
It's never been safer.
And even with the statistics of these 2 recent crashes and technically a third.
Right, absolutely. You look here on this trade show hall floor, you see all these manufacturers who are tasked with creating and building and producing and marketing these products, and then the avionics facilities that are here that install and maintain these facilities. Every single one of these people, you can look in the eye and ask them what's their number one goal at the end of the day, and it's safety. Of course, they want to do the best possible job they can to ensure that whoever is in that aircraft is flying it and operating it in a safe and efficient manner.
This is the part that drives me nuts about general media. Well, they're trying to do shortcuts, so forth and so on. And having been a Boeing pilot, having been part of the Boeing organization and consultant and worked a bunch of projects and so forth over the years in some areas, the one thing I will tell you that is the most stringent certification process I've ever seen is a Boeing lawyer. Because they're there to make sure they don't get their butt suit off.
Correct.
They are not going to do anything stupid. And it's the same thing at Airbus. It's the same thing at Cessna. It's the same thing, everywhere else, Diamond, Piper, what have you.
Right.
Nobody is looking to do something stupid. At the same time, the manufacturers have to be trusted to a certain extent because nobody will know their product and its capabilities and what has gone to get them there better than they do.
Right.
And it's certainly the same here in the industry.
Absolutely.
And frankly, one thing that's been wonderful about the last few years is that the FAA has recognized that the avionics industry in particular is not only innovative and capable of working, but that we were able to push some boundaries that had not been pushed before.
Right,
and look at the result.
And look at the result. Well, look at the products that are now going into the experimental market.
Oh, phenomenal.
That those experimental pilots that are flying experimental aircraft have never had those wonderful capabilities in the cockpit of those airplanes or their kit planes that they're building that will do nothing but enhance safety while they're flying those aircraft. So I agree with you. I think unfortunately, passes over into other industries as well, that the general media is so anxious for a story and a sensational story on top of it that
I am not proud of the general part of my profession at all.
No, they are damaging a very well-respected industry who has a magnificent safety record.
It's funny, we used to do a lot of outreach with general media. We don't anymore. It's just no matter what we do, we're not going to give them the answers they want, and more important, we're not going to be talked into a partial answer that can be misconstrued.
Right.
And it gets ugly.
Yes.
We reach a real interesting audience, whether it be general aviation, commercial aviation, military aviation, so forth and so on. We're about to embark on a new project where we've got a program that'll be devoted strictly to the role of women in aviation, program we call Aviators. I can't think of very many women who have had as profound an effect on aviation as have you. What advice do you give now as a woman who's done it all, had it all, and basically been the boss to women coming up in the industry now?
You know, last night at one of our social events here during the convention, I had a young woman come up to me, and this sounds very dramatic, but this is a true story. Tears came to her eyes, and she was a younger woman, and we shook hands, and she said, "You don't know it, but from afar you have been a mentor of mine, because it's a struggle for women in this industry
It can be.
to be recognized for their talents that they can bring to the industry." And I thanked her for her kind comments, but at the same time I said, never give up, and just realize in some cases you may have to work twice as hard to prove yourself, but believe me, that hard work pays off in the end. It's paid off for me, it's paid off for my fellow female executives in the industry, no matter what segment of the aviation industry they're in, or what area of the industry that they are working to achieve their goals and their dreams as well. It's worth it. It is worth it, and I think if you believe in yourself, you will find others will soon believe in you as well. And that's the advice that I give young women as if they ask me for my advice. Sometimes I don't like to just give it freely. Some people don't appreciate that, but when I do, it's like it's a I hate to say a club, but it's almost the secret club where women in the industry and in big industry events where it's heavily male dominated, you kind of seek each other out, you give each other that look like, you go girl. Mm-hmm. And it's a mutual admiration society, no matter where they're at, what position they have in the industry, or what they're trying to achieve. I think we all try to rally behind each other. And I think your new segment will be so beneficial in helping women realize that.
We're excited about it. It's dedicated to Vicki, my first wife, who we lost, 10 years ago now,
Yes.
in World Aerobatic Competition, but story you might enjoy. I used to tease her all the time because she knew where it was coming from. She'd come back from a hard aerobatic flight, and I go, "You fly like a girl." And she'd look at me, give me that crinkled up nose and go, "Yeah, I do. Don't you wish you could?"
Yes, absolutely.
Paula, you ran AEA like a girl.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you
work.
very much. Thank you.
We're so impressed. We're so pleased. Don't be a stranger.
I will not be.
And have fun with your granddaughter.
I will. Thank you.
So,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's been a great ride.
It has been.
Thanks to Aero-News as well for live streaming this AEA convention and all the wonderful products that have been brought to market.
And now we get to beat up on Mike.
There you go.
You're off the hook, kiddo.
I'm off the clock.
That's it. Beat up
Yes.
on, we've got some great ideas.
I bet you do.
So.
Good. Don't go easy.
No, not a chance. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 62nd Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Palm Springs, California, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
It's called Airtext Plus. The mobile office is now a true, cost-effective win-win reality because being available and part of the communication chain keeps you in control. Visit us at www.airtext.aero for more information and get started staying in touch today.